So I'm going to jump into the culture war here. We've got the Darwinists, or the neo-Darwinists, and the creationists waging war against one another over the meaning of human life and really all existence. I was going to wait until after the History Channel documentary tonight called The Link was aired, but maybe I'll post a follow-up video after I see that. But I'm going to respond to Gear Up's video here. Not to take his side, but not to take the side of his opponent either. I think that, the way that this fossil has been publicized is very much about generating media hype, and so it's basically propaganda, sure. Sir David Attenborough, who calls himself a naturalist, I'm sure fine, he's a naturalist, but he's more of a TV personality who's done a lot of documentaries for the BBC than he is an actual scientist. So when he says that, before Ida, when someone asked for proof that human beings were descendants of apes, we wouldn't have been able to show it to them, but now that we have Ida, we've got the missing link. That's a total exaggeration, way overblown. He's trying to hype up this discovery for, his own ideological reasons, and I agree with Gear Up about that. However, the idea of common descent, the scientific fact that we as organisms all originated from a common ancestor, we all share the same genes, we've evolved over billions of years and are continuing to evolve. If you're going to deny that, you may as well throw out all of science, because nothing has been as well confirmed as that. What is up for debate, and I think the real reason that Darwinists and creationists have a bit of a disagreement with one another, which that's an understatement, the reason is over whether or not life has a purpose and a meaning. A creationist would say whether or not life was designed. That's a bad word to use, I think. But the meaning of this word design is really about purpose. And a neo-Darwinist would say that no, life has no purpose. It's a mechanical process of selection that just happens accidentally. There's no underlying reason for it. Whereas the creationist says, no, there's definitely a reason for life. It was created in 6 days by, a transcendent God. And he has a plan for us. And I think both of these are very misguided, though they each have a part of the puzzle. The Darwinists have it right that, yes, the evolution of life on this planet has occurred over, 3.5 to 4 billion years. We are all related. And the creationists have it right that, yes, there is purpose. If not a creator, there is creativity in nature. And that, human intelligence and consciousness and morality and so forth, these aren't mere accidental epiphenomena that have emerged by chance. I think these are a further expression of the creative intelligence that's inherent in the natural world itself. So the real battle here is it's a culture war over the meaning of human life. It has nothing to do with science. I think a neo-Darwinist who thinks that life can be reduced to natural selection and a creationist who thinks we were created in our current forms 6,000 years ago are both equally misled and misguided, both equally dogmatic and religious at the end of the day, if we're going to use that term in its more colloquial sense as being religious basically being equated to being dogmatic or ideological, though I would not want to use the term necessarily in that way. But Gear Up, the idea that this is the missing link, that Ida is the missing link, yeah, that's propaganda. I agree with you. But, as I said, we didn't need proof of common descent. Ida doesn't change anything. Common descent was already among the most well-established facts in science. What's not well-established, I would say, is the reason for evolution. Darwin's theory of natural selection is one mechanism operating on life that leads to speciation, to a change in form over time. I don't think it's explanatory of speciation, though. And certainly it's not explanatory of the origin of life. Darwin's book was called The Origin of Species. He said very little about the origin of life. In fact, the last paragraph in The Origin of Species, in that paragraph he attributes the origin to a creator who breathed life into a few or a single form at the beginning. So, not saying that we need to therefore hold to a creationist perspective for the origin of life, but, one of my favorite thinkers is the Jesuit paleontologist Teilhard de Chardin, who beautifully shows how science and religion can not only accommodate one another, but when you find a way of combining them, like he has, you see that they both mutually enhance one another. Certainly, Christianity or any theist religion, any religion, has to take evolution into consideration in its story of creation. But we don't have to see the universe as a meaningless, purposeless place just because we admit evolution. Quite the contrary. And one thing that Girup said that really, I think, is laughable, he was saying that the quality of Ida as a fossil is proof of Noah's flood, and that he said that any high-quality fossil confirms the story of Noah. And, Ida is 47 million years old. There are fossils ranging from, a few million to a few 100,000 to a few 100 million years old. And so obviously the timeline in terms of there being a single flood that saved all these fossils at the same time, I think is completely erroneous. So, yeah, Ida does not confirm Darwin's theory, nor does it debunk creationism. I think if by Darwin's theory you mean the common descent, the common origin of all species on Earth, then that was already well confirmed. And if by creationism we mean that the world and all life upon it was created 6,000 years ago, I think that's pretty easy to debunk by any reasonable person. But none of this is to say that we cannot still be Christian, even if evolution is true. Look up, I'll put some links in the description box to some information about Teilhard de Chardin. In fact, I'll post a link to an essay I wrote about Teilhard and evolution, and I'll post another link to some videos by Michael Dowd, who I think one of his nicknames is the evolutionary evangelist, who has also found a way of synthesizing science and religion, evolution and creation, such that we see not the transcendence of the Creator is one thing, but the emphasis is on creativity as immanent in nature itself. So, yeah, I'll stop it there. I'll probably post a follow-up video after I watch the History Channel documentary tonight. It's at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if anyone's interested. Because, after I see that, I'll get a better read on exactly what the motivation behind this media blitz was. I'll see what kind of claims they're trying to make in this program, and I'll be better able to evaluate, as I said, what the motivation behind it is. But so far, I agree with Girup that it's basically propaganda for a neo-Darwinist's picture of evolution, though I think it's important that the creationists and the intelligent designers realize that they cannot deny the evidence for common descent anymore. So in that sense, I don't want to take sides exactly, but I can see why they would, why the scientists involved in the discovery of Ida would put forth this propaganda campaign to really convince people that evolution needs to be taken seriously. So, thanks for listening, and look for another video later this evening. Take care.